like to welcome all of our neighbors from Michigan State, the Harvard of Horticulture. Thank you.
The largest and best-selling T-shirt on the Ann Arbor campus this week, Michigan, #1 versus Michigan State, no one.
You know, sometimes you get your little brother excited when you're playing basketball and stuff, let him get the lead, and then you just come back and take it back. Yep.
With Jeff Decker, I'm Roy Akers at the Detroit Sportscasters Luncheon. What a great time that we're getting ready to have. Jim Brandstatter, George Blaha, a lot of great players are all in the house. What do you think?
Oh, I think this is just a fun time. You know, speaking with Vicki Foley, the president of the Detroit Broadcasters Association, a little bit of talk with Brandstatter. You get to sit down with Blaha. I mean, there's so much, you know, it's not just a rivalry, it's our state.
Yeah, I mean, whoever wins this game, in the end of the day, these guys that went from being bitter enemies for 4 or 5 years to becoming best friends, reminiscing on stories, and getting that one little jab with the needle. And during our conversation today at the presser that we have and our interviews that we're going to sprinkle throughout the show, even some video, we're going to find out all about that. And our audience, you get to take the trip with us, and it starts now.
Where the Michigan players met at midfield after the game, had a moment of silence in response to your comment after the Appalachian State game.
I find a lot of the things that they do amusing. They need to check themselves sometimes. But just remember, pride comes before the fall.
Anything specific?
Just here, pride comes before the fall.
Anyway, the great thing about this year is we have a game. We actually have a game because the last 7 years have been ugly on the Michigan side of the ball. After the torturous 7-year reigns of Rich Rodriguez and Brady Hoke, where there was some except for the little squeaker 12-10 in 2012, Michigan State, justifiably so, a great program under Mark D'Antonio. They are a national power in the last 2 games. The 8 sacks against Devin Gardner in a 29-6 beatdown that was probably worse than the score. The 35-11 last year, where Jeremy Langford just pounded the Michigan defense into a humiliating 35-11 loss. So it's a little bit different, we hope. We'll find out today from our esteemed panel we'll get to in a moment. We're also going to hear from Brandy and George Blaha at the end how Jim Harbaugh has managed to do this. And let's be real, there was no second choice. It was Jim Harbaugh or choice 10. He was the man to come back and do this, and I think everyone is extremely impressed and puzzled even as to how he has done it so quickly. So it's a national TV game on ESPN. Millions of people across the country will see this. This is a proud moment for our state, for both these programs. They're both prominent again, and what happens in this game, I don't know. I just know that, like you, I'm excited that we have it, and finally, perhaps some parity will come to these 2 programs. So let's meet our panel. I'll call them up one by one. I have some written introductions here, but I only have one hand. Let's start on the Michigan State side of the ball. 3-time All-State quarterback at Harrison High, won 2 championships in the late 80s, set the state mark for passing yardage and touchdown throws. At MSU, a 3-year starter at variety positions, also the team MVP. Led him in receiving 1 year. He graduated with honors, went on to get his business degree. He is currently a financial planner. Let's hear it for Mill Coleman. Mill Coleman. By the way, there's only 3 mics up here the Spartans are going to have to share. That was an executive decision I made. Wide receiver at Michigan from 99 to 2002. He caught 67 balls for 900 yards and 9 touchdowns. He had 46 catches his senior year. Signed by the Dolphins, who he played for in 2003. He was briefly a Raven and a Lion before playing for the Scottish Claymores in the NFL Europe. No one else in the room can claim that. He is now the head coach at West Bloomfield High School, which is in the state playoffs, undefeated, great receiver, great Wolverine, and a great coach. Let's hear it for Ron Bellamy. From a great football family, his brother Joe, who I covered in a brief tortured stay in New York, was an NFL great. And Jamie well could have been, if not for injuries. He ranks 3rd in U of M history in rushing yards and in a season in career. Twice added 30 receptions in a season, holds the Wolverine record for catches for a running back, played 3 seasons with the Redskins, rushed for 100 yards a game a couple of times. He is a freelance marketing executive. Now let's hear it for Jamie Morris. And he played for Michigan State from 78 to 81, lettered as a freshman behind the great Eddie Smith, was a teammate of Kirk Gibson, split time with Burt Vaughn his sophomore year. By his senior year, fully came into his form, threw 14 touchdown passes, including 2 against the Wolverines in a 318-yard performance. He was voted team MVP, drafted by the 49ers, where he backed up Joe Montana. Brian Clark, everybody. Let's hear it for Brian Clark. This question can go anywhere. We should maybe go down the line and start with Jamie. What is it about the Harbaugh magic? How has he been able to do it? How can he take a team that was struggling, that didn't seem tough, Michigan tough? How can he turn it around so soon? What is the Jim Harbaugh magic, if anything?
I mean, Jim took in what he has learned over the years. It started with his father, who was a coach, Bo Schembechler, Mike Ditka. You think about that prodigy, and Jim learned that toughness is the thing. So he came in and established toughness and discipline to this team, and that's pretty much what they needed. And we can do a lot of things with the ball, but the first thing we're going to do is run the ball. And we're going to play good defense, and we're going to take away the run from the opponent. So, and that's what he's established. And he takes his number ones versus number ones on defense, and they go head to head. And he practices just like Bo does. And don't worry, I don't get to go to practice either. Jim closes all practice to everybody. But that's the kind of man that he is. And he's a no-nonsense. He's going to tell you in your face how he feels about this.
He had it to Ron. I'm sorry, Ron. That's right. This year you guys have their own mics. As well it should be. So, Ron, add anything if you can. How has he managed to do it in such... not working?
What? Good now.
Vicky, our crack technical staff, can we get that other microphone to work? Thank you very much. You know, to see the offensive line go from really seeming somewhat inept to so powerful now, how has that managed to happen? Is that more of what Jamie said, or anything you can add to that?
You know, Jamie and I were just talking about this a minute ago. Past few years, you know, Coach Hoke and his staff, they talked about the development of the O-line, saying, oh, they're turning the corner, they're getting better. Well, now, you see those guys, they've gotten better. And now we're seeing them impose their will versus defenses. And this is going to be their best test thus far this year, going against a very stout veteran group in Michigan State. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen. You know, my thought is we have to establish the run early. And then, you know, allow Jake to kind of make plays down the field.
Mill, you want to add anything to that? We'll get to D'Antonio in a second, who we've talked about many times over the years. But what's your perception of what Harbaugh has done at Michigan? Something you could have anticipated, or something that's unprecedented?
Well, if you look at Coach Harbaugh's history, like these guys were saying, he had success at Stanford. He had success in the NFL with the 49ers, and he's just continuing on the success that he's had. He's a great coach. We all knew that he would turn it around, but like most, we didn't see it coming, you know, as fast as it's come for this year.
You know, Brian, your dad was, you just got to hold a little closer to your mouth. Your dad was a coach. A couple of Michigan guys told me, I can't say who they were, but they said this summer, Harbaugh invited them to stand in the back of the room when he addressed the team. This is before practice was really very well underway. And they're looking at each other in the back of the room saying, is he like this all the time? Is this serious? Is this really what these guys hear every day? Apparently the intensity was something that they had never witnessed before, and wondered how the players could hold up against this withering verbal attack or tirade for this long. I know that's been said about them in the past. As a son of a coach, how do players respond? Is that something that maybe wears thin in the pros but will work in college?
Well, as the coach's son, I had to withstand some verbal attacks at home as well. But answer your question more, I think sometimes athletes, either college or pro, it takes a tough coach to get the most out of them. My dad coached under Don Shula, who at the time in the early 70s was tough as they come, and did a lot of screaming and yelling at guys, didn't make a lot of friends at the time, but later on they respect him for what he got out of them, and I think that's probably what they'll think at Michigan, that maybe not having tons of fun getting yelled at, but they see the results on the field.
So let's talk a little bit about Mark D'Antonio. I don't know what he's like behind the scenes, more of a low-key coach perhaps. I don't know. What do you think? We'll start with you again, Brian. What has been D'Antonio's key to success? He has, I think, exceeded any expectations coming here and has now built a powerhouse in the top 5 in America.
Well, first of all, I got to mention his khakis. He wears a much better brand of khakis than Harbaugh does. That's his.
We got a commercial. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You see, wait a minute, Fox, they khaki camp, didn't they? They had their own khaki camp.
D'Antonio, to me, I'm just impressed with his discipline that he has on himself, and when he talks on the radio, he doesn't take much nonsense from the questioner. I heard him giving it to Guy Gordon the other day on WJR. He wasn't happy with the questions, and he said, "You're lucky you caught me on a good day, Guy." But yeah, I just think that over the last 3 years, they won 27 out of 29 games. That doesn't come without being very disciplined and well coached, and we're lucky to have him.
Yeah. Mill, the Spartans are undefeated and ranked number 7, which is as good as you could really hope for. You're undefeated. Haven't been as impressive as people expected, expectations, etc. What do you look at the Michigan State team and do you say, that's okay, winning, whether you're squeaking by or winning by a lot, is the same? Do you see any, are you a little surprised that the Spartans haven't been a little more overpowering this year?
Well, at the end of the day, a win is a win. First of all, we'll take a W, but we want to win in more impressive fashion. I think at times we've run the ball well. Connor Cook has been the leader that we've expected. I think just on defense, the last few years our defense has been one of the tops in the nation, and it hasn't quite been the same type of defense that we've had over the last couple of years. This year up to this season so far. So the biggest thing I would like to see is just having that more aggressive attitude on defense that we've seen in the last couple of years, and I think that it can come. We still have time, and these type of games are what brings that extra out of you as well when you get into these type of rivalry games. And the coach doesn't have to say much to you. You just know that it's time to go. You know what the game is all about, and you kind of find that extra that you didn't know you had.
This game is an important game. So they want to mock us all they want to mock us. I'm telling them it's not over. So they can print all that crap all they want all over their locker room.
Absolutely. One of my favorite memories as a player at the University of Michigan was having grown up in East Lansing, having my dad on the faculty, and my brother played at Michigan State, my dad an All-American at Michigan State, and me having seen the light. Actually, people ask me how I got from East Lansing to Ann Arbor. I tell them one day I was out in front of my house on Alton Road near St. Thomas Parish in East Lansing. Patriarch Park is across the road, and I looked up and saw a star in the east. Like the 3 wise men, I followed that star, and it stopped over Michigan Stadium. And I said, this must be a sign. But one of my great memories, and it goes to George's point, having grown up in East Lansing and having been a little kid, rugrat, running around when my brother Art was playing and I was 9, 10, 11 years old, getting the run of the stadium, being there on picture day with all of my brother's buddies. My senior year, we played in East Lansing, and we won the game, and I had one of my better games against Ron Curl, a great All-American at Michigan State. And that, to me, is one of my great memories of my college football career. We beat Ohio State in '69 in one of the great watershed victories in Michigan history, and we beat Michigan State at home my junior year. We lost to them in East Lansing my sophomore season. But that senior year, to go into East Lansing, to that familiar place, and come out with a win, truly one of the highlights of my career at the University of Michigan. So that's my story of my playing days at the University of Michigan. And George is right, if you can't get up for this game, then you might as well check out and go see A.J. Lynch and Sons at the funeral home.
I got to tell you something that was absolutely breathtaking, Eli. I don't know, maybe it was 10 years ago. I was doing a Piston game in Orlando on Friday night, flew to Detroit, and they had a helicopter to take me up to the Michigan State game, which started early, and the helicopter pad used to be at where the state police post is, near the stadium. You couldn't do that today, so I'd have to skip the Piston game maybe. But point is, this chopper's flying over, and it's about 11:15, 11:30, and there wasn't one soul who didn't have either green and white or maize and blue on. And the stadium was almost full, and there were almost as many people outside the stadium as there were inside. And you realized how big this event really is. It was amazing.
I will address the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, which is as big as it gets. There is no bigger rivalry than that, because to me that's a national game. And for so many years we grew up with that game, meaning the difference in who goes to the Rose Bowl and who doesn't. The Big Ten championship was on the line. And when TV only showed 2 games a weekend, the 2 games on that weekend prior to Thanksgiving were Michigan, Ohio State, and UCLA, USC. That was all the nation got to see. So that Michigan-Ohio State game took on a huge rivalry factor, and Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler took it to another level. But like George said, in the state of Michigan, in this regional area, from Presque-Isle down to Monroe, nowhere is there this kind of passion and investment in 2 college football programs than there is in this state for Michigan and Michigan State. And when they meet on a Saturday afternoon in the fall, it should be declared a legal holiday.
Probably most people have decided to make it a holiday of sorts, that's for sure. Brandy, what do you think the key to the game is?
Well, with all due respect to my colleagues and my heroes and these fine analysts of collegiate football, Jamie and Ron, Bill, Brian, 42 of the last 45 games, I think that's the number, isn't it, have gone to the team that has run for more yardage. If you look at how Michigan State has dominated Michigan over the past few years, what's it been? It has been the fact that Devin Gardner, Denard Robinson, pick a quarterback, hasn't been able to tie his shoe back there, let alone get off a pass, because the dominance of the defensive line over the offense, putting pressure on the quarterback, has caused Michigan all kinds of problems. That speaks to the guys up front. When Michigan, as what Mill was saying, or no, Brian, Butch Woolfolk runs for 250. The year that Chris Perry carried it 51 times for over 200 yards. What was that all about? It was about those guys up front. And make no mistake, this game is about the line of scrimmage.
Thank you, Bo.
And if you think it isn't, then you should go somewhere and learn a little football. It's about those big uglies up front. If you protect and you block for the run, you will win. If you run the ball and you stop the run, you will win. And in this game, more than any other game down the road, that's how you win the game. You got it?
Thank you very much. By the way,
just such a great energy, and like you said, that camaraderie that comes after the rivalry.
Exactly.
With everybody. I mean, we all go to the gym. We all tear muscles. We all heal. And it's just great to have that camaraderie come back. You know, you might have been at the line with them and hated their guts.
Right.
But you look at them again some years later and go, "You're a hell of a player."
Exactly, and we're gonna compliment each other, and we remember each other. So it's all about that. Exactly.
But this state seems to take it to a great level. Anywhere in this state, our sports, everything just pumps it up.
Yeah, it does. And this is, you know what? It's always been a state rivalry, but now the nation's about to see it become a national rivalry.
Oh, this one's big.
Yeah, it's huge.
Thanks so much.
No problem.
Go Blue.
A young linebacker, believe your reads. Rudock on second down. Floats it wide open, his butt at the 15, but inside the 5, powering down to the wall.
With me is Ryan Ehrmani. You are the 8 to 12 host on 105.1. You're also on Channel 2. You have a very unique take on this rivalry because you see both sides, you get the callers and that. What is it like during Michigan State week?
Well, it's absolutely crazy because, you know, you talk so much about the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry as being the rivalry, but I might be the only one that thinks this, but I think after the dominance that Michigan State has had over Michigan in 6 of the last 7 years, I think the most important game on the schedule for Michigan is on Saturday against Michigan State. I think Michigan State has become the new measuring stick for Michigan, and in this state, when you live next door to a Spartan, when you're married to a Spartan like I am, you get a lot of trash talk, and I would much rather, if I'm a Michigan fan, win this game against Michigan State than against Ohio State at the end of the year. I just think this rivalry is one where you literally have to live with the people that you're playing against this week.
Well, the thing people cannot forget is because this game traditionally happens in the middle of the schedule, you can't talk Ohio State if you don't beat your opponent because you're not gonna be in the Big Ten title game.
Absolutely not. And even though we're talking about a Michigan team winning the Big Ten championship, I mean, I would have never believed that we would talk Michigan and Big Ten championship, but that's what's at stake for both teams on the line here. And the loser, of course, isn't mathematically out of it, but you know it's going to be a tough road to hoe. But the winner of this,
you got to win all your tiebreakers.
You got to win all your tiebreakers, and the winner of this game is going to have a leg up in the Big Ten race.
This weekend and for the game tonight. And the stability that he's given in the administration is one of the reasons that Mark D'Antonio credits for his ability to build such a stable program here as Michigan State has the ball back and spreading it out all over the place. Quick pass out from Connor Cook, R.J. Shelton, and no room for him to run as Reggie Daniels stops it.
Jim Branson, how are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you, Jeff?
This is great.
Isn't this fun?
This is way fun.
It's Michigan State week, man. You better line it up and get it ready to go.
I loved your bow.
Thank you.
You know, you're going to pump up everybody.
Absolutely.
It definitely did. Even Eli's going, I knew he'd do his bow.
Well, I mean, everybody's talking about the quarterbacks and the passing game and this and that, but this is a game where, let's face it, you got to play up front. And if you don't get it done up front, you're not going to win. And the statistics prove it.
Absolutely.
42 out of the last 45. The team that's rushed the most has won the game. If that isn't some history that you better pay attention to, then you're probably doing yourself a disservice.
Absolutely. This is exciting. I mean, finally, you know, the early part of last year, everybody's going, what do we do? Who do we get? What in the world? I mean,
Well, they got Mick Jagger, didn't they?
They did, didn't they?
Oh, he's a rock star.
Holy God,
Jim Harbaugh has changed the culture, turned everything around. I don't think he's changed the culture so much. He's gone back to what the culture was.
He really did.
You know, it's about physical football. It's about playing the ball at the line of scrimmage. It's about winning on defense first and running the ball and forcing the other guy to adjust. And that's what Jim does.
Oh, my God.
And that's what Michigan football has always been.
That heart on the sideline. Yeah. Every bad thing is just, oh my God, it's just the dramaticity of both.
Well, it is, but it's also about intensity and focus. And if you believe that a team kind of takes on the personality of its head coach or its coaching staff, what you watch on the sideline is what you're seeing from that team. And when you get that kind of intensity and focus, you're going to be successful.
It's true.
Calling games for all these years, you've talked a lot about the rivalry. What hasn't been said about Michigan State that you think needs to come to light?
Well, I think we just had a function here the Detroit sports broadcasters, two standouts from Michigan games, Michigan teams past, and two standouts from Spartan teams in the past. And what they eventually said was, no matter how much fire and in some cases antagonism there has been on the field, they end up being friendly with guys from the other team when it's all said and done.
Well, you've heard from some of the legends of this rivalry as they are now, from George Blaha, Jim Brandstatter. You've heard from the players. You've heard from Eli Zaret, and even a few surprise guests here and there. What was your take on what happened today?
You know, this is a very good organization that I didn't even know existed here in Detroit. And here we've been broadcasting games, you and I doing that, the rivalry game in Waterford. Now it's the state rivalry game. This is a really good organization with a lot of very good people, and we know the broadcasters that we're hollowed from. And it's just great to be seeing them, talking with them, and getting to be part of this.
And I agree. I couldn't agree more. And what a great time. And we've been able to bring that to all the cable companies throughout Oakland County. And so that's that. What we're going to do when we come back is that we're going to each give our predictions on who we think is going to win the game. We have some of the predictions from some of the celebrities, also a celebrity guest that's going to tell us his prediction, and that comes on the flip side.
Do we want to hear predictions from these guys, or are they too predictable what their predictions would be?
Yeah, I will not go down that road.
Okay, let's not then.
But I will let Jamie, Ron, Mill, and Brian if they choose to.
Do you choose to?
Sure. Why not?
You knew Jamie would.
I mean, you know I'd say it.
He didn't become Michigan's leading rusher by being a fade of heart.
Exactly. 34-28, Michigan.
A lot of score. Wait, they're going to give up 28 points after 3 straight shutouts. That's interesting.
I'm going to give, we're going against the best quarterback that they faced and will face this season.
Interesting. Ron?
17-14 Wolverines.
That sounds closer to what I think it would be, but who cares what my opinion? Mill, go ahead.
28-14 Spartans.
And Brian?
24-10.
Who? It's okay.
Michigan State.
Obviously, you cannot ever discount who can run the ball and who can stop the run. But I believe in this case, one team has a star quarterback, the other team has a great game manager. Take nothing away from him. And a lot of game managers have won a lot of games, and so far he's won his share this year. But I think if the Spartans can keep Connor Cook clean, he's their ace in the hole.
I think Michigan's going to win the game. No surprise there. I think Michigan's going to win the game 31-17.
I think you covered this, but I want to ask one question about Harbaugh as we finish up. I think he's the great, I don't want to say blank hope, but he's given Michigan hope. Before, when Brady Hoke came into there, it was hopeless. Now that you have Harbaugh, now you got some steam in the step.
Well, it's legitimate. He wanted San Diego quickly. He wanted Stanford quickly. He wanted San Francisco quickly. And those 3 stops were teams were terrible, in ruins, and he brought them back up quickly. I think at Michigan, everybody knew he was going to turn this thing around. I don't think anybody thought that it was going to happen this quickly. And yes, Jim Harbaugh has his way of doing things. It has worked. It may rub some people the wrong way, but as long as he wins, that's all that matters.
You know, I'm from this state. I love this state. I lived out of state for a long time, in California, so I begged for either team from the state of Michigan to come out to the Rose Bowl because it brought my friends to come visit me. But Dad went to U of M, and my first college experience in cheering is in the big house as a very small child. To me, it's maize and blue, and they've made the difference. Harbaugh makes the difference. I say, maize and blue, 28-17 for state. Go blue.
Well, as a former Sparty, do you really think I'm going to pick U of M? Yeah, I could have went to U of M. but I didn't. I went to Michigan State for a lot of reasons. Michigan is a great school. I don't feel like I'm a big brother. I don't feel like I'm a little brother. One of those guys, I root for both teams except for when they play each other. This week, I'm picking MSU, and I'm picking them for this reason. I like the senior quarterback. I think he's got the moxie, and I think it's going to be a barn burner of a close game. I'm going to say MSU 28, U of M 26. And who are the real winners? Everybody in the state of Michigan, because now we have two great schools at the same time. For Jeff Decker, I'm Ray Akers.
Doing things and demanding different things that they hadn't done before. But we've got a great bunch at Michigan this year. We played a tremendous game at Iowa the week before. Not many people realize that, but Iowa was not that bad a team, and we dismembered them 51-6. It was a smashing victory. And in the locker room afterward, we talked about beating Ohio State even before we undressed, even in our uniforms. On Monday and Tuesday of the week, preparation for Ohio State, our team was high. And we were worried at some stages maybe we were getting too high too soon, and we said no, we felt that way against Michigan State, and we didn't quite have the momentum and enthusiasm we needed to win that one. So we decided to go higher, and that's exactly what happened. And when we took the field against Ohio State, that's the most enthusiastic football team I've ever been associated with.